I was absolutely financially devastated. That was probably the hardest part of any part of it. There are different types of challenges, but this being the least life-threatening of any of them was definitely the most difficult. Whenever you get a bill and you see 6 zeros behind what your bill is, how am I going to achieve this?
Tristan was diagnosed with cancer at age 19. He survived, but 19 years later, he's still paying the price. Literally. Hi, I'm Stephanie Trong, founder of The Patient's Story and a cancer survivor myself. I wish I could say that Tristan is alone in this, but unfortunately, he's far from it. The high cost of cancer care can be devastating. So imagine you're told you have a life-threatening disease, and then you realize, oh, I'm also stuck trying to figure out how to pay to get better. In fact, more than half of cancer survivors carry medical debt long after treatment ends, and that's according to the American Cancer Society. So this is a story about just how damaging a diagnosis can be, even if you survive the cancer itself. This is Tristan's story.
Oh, as every kid does, I had those grandiose dreams of getting out of the small town and going on to do bigger and brighter things. I left from small town Huntsville to go to Indianapolis to start college, and I always wanted to work with tractors and diesel engines and stuff. I grew up, as every kid does, seeing the big truck go down the road, trying to honk the horn and stuff, and I wanted to work for the railroad and had envisioned myself being a single guy and just riding the railroad and seeing new places and getting to live a life unlike anybody in my family had ever done. I had the chance to break out, and it came crashing down so fast.
1 month into college,
I started itching relentlessly. I mean, to the point where even whenever I would try to sleep, I'd be in the fetal position, just steadily clawing myself. It was bad. The skin was coming off my legs. I mean, it was not just isolated, it was widespread all over my body, but my legs were the worst. But to the point where I would take off my socks and pieces of skin would come off with it. But I'd gone to, little walk-in clinics, and I was told it was laundry allergy, it was anxiety, it was this, that, and the third. I was misdiagnosed 5 different times before the actual real diagnosis came in. But I was in school one night, I had gone into class, and I got a headache, which was, for me, just the most bizarre thing. I've had like 10 in my entire life. So I told my professor, I'm gonna go to the washroom real quick and wash my face, I'll be back. And whenever I went and I looked in the mirror, I had a lymph node that popped up on my neck about the size of half of an orange, and immediate panic set in.
Tristan was rushed to the hospital where he was diagnosed with stage 4 blood cancer called Hodgkin lymphoma.
Doctor walked in with a pack of papers and the most sour look on his face. And here comes the devastation. And he explained it to me. And hit put the brakes on hard. Really quickly, I started to freak out. I was diagnosed January 7th of 2007. I got biopsy that night. They got the results January 8th. January 9th, I was back in Huntsville, Alabama. January 10th, I met my oncology team for the first time. They had the plan right away.
The initial round of chemotherapy worked, but it didn't last.
That was July of 2007. I achieved first remission. It was short-lived. By October, I was right back in stage 3, and it was more aggressive this time. It had moved just from the neck and chest area to where I had 17 nodules in my chest. I had 4 in the groin, a couple more in my neck, and we were trying to decide what to do next. With the limited response I was having to the chemo, doctors moved on and said it was time to try an autologous transplant, an autologous stem cell transplant. At the time, I couldn't hear that news. I was so emotional about everything. May 8th of 2008, I go into Huntsville Hospital to do my first transplant. I spent 17 days in there. That was June. By September, I had relapsed again. And now everybody's backpedaling, trying to figure out the next treatment and what do we do now? And now it's time to do the allogenic transplant. I went in March of 2007 to get typed and matched. May 8th of 2009, 365 days to the day for my first transplant was my day 0 for my second transplant. They say life begins at day 0. That's whenever they give you all the high dose chemo and they knock you down to absolute 0 and dangle you again right there at death's door and hope that the graft takes. The amount of immunosuppressants and medications that they had me taking, some days it would be upwards of 150 plus pills.
As he recovered, reality set in.
I was absolutely financially devastated. I mean, I'm on Social Security and SSI at the time and potentially going to be on disability the rest of my life. I can't do anything. I was really kind of hindered for a long time. So, I tried, Lord, there was some years I had 4 or 5 W-2s because I would try a job and a couple of weeks in, I would be so incredibly sick that I couldn't go on, or, I saw it just wasn't a good fit long term. I never thought I would even get a chance to be married, but
to sit here on the other side now and being married, since 2011 and being with my wife for almost 19 years. I met her about 4 months after I was diagnosed. She was with me through all of the treatments. I met my stepchildren, but by all accounts, they're my kids.
Got married in 2011. That winter, I moved my wife to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and we started our own business. My wife has always been an incredibly hard worker. I couldn't see myself sitting on the couch the rest of my life, so I knew that I had to make a plan, and I had to make a plan that was sustainable for my health. I could be in the sun. There are certain things that put you at risk for graft-versus-host disease, so I had to make sure that I limited whatever exposure I had to protect myself the best I could.
To be sitting at home taking care of the kids at 22, 23, 24 years old while your wife gets up at 4 a.m. to go to work, that hurt. I mean, that was a serious thing for me. It was the first time ever in my life that I had approached therapy sessions and stuff like that. Like, who do I talk to about this? I can't tell my wife that I feel, less than a man right now.
Tristan had insurance, but it wasn't enough, and he's still fighting through the financial burden.
I still have not fully financially recovered from treatments, and every time you get something paid off, now you have another scan to do. Now you need these blood draws, or whatever it may be. There are so many setbacks that come along post-treatment that is involved with cancer that I just really don't think people are prepared for. My family was not incredibly wealthy. I had a hell of a hardworking dad. My mom was always, she was just the same as he was, but unless you're, one of the 1% up there, cancer is devastating. My particular plan was you need a PET scan every 6 months. You need lab draws every 2 months, sometimes even sooner than that, depending on if I had a cold or something like that. I had infusions to do. I had to do plasma and even had to do some blood transfusions several times. Your responsibility with my insurance is 20%. So, you're talking about a $15,000 PET scan every 6 months, and you have to come out of pocket 20% for that before they'll even allow you to get the scan, and you've got to do that twice a year. It's a challenge. And the amount of payment plans I had, it was almost my entire check every year was going toward that. My maintenance these days is about $15,000 a year. I'm 17 years now of treatment. The secondary effects are starting to show their head. I have to see a cardiologist, I have a pulmonologist, I have an endocrinologist, I have an oncologist, my primary care physician. Those bills are astronomical. If it weren't for payment plans, it's not sustainable, at least not in my situation. So it definitely takes some serious planning and diligence to be able to stay on top of it and finding the correct facility that can work with you in those instances. There are grants out there available and stuff. There are lots of ways to pay for them, but those are very limited.
I'm on the cusp of starting my own business now, and it's potentially gonna give me that, passive income that helps me better afford long-term aftercare. Previously, it was about survival. It was about surviving the next rent payment. It was about surviving the next medical bill. It was all about survival. It took a long time to get into the mind frame of we have to buckle down, we need a plan, and now we plan for things. I have my first grandchild on the way in March. I'm incredibly proud of my daughter. I've got a 25 and a 20-year-old. That's all my future consists of, is taking care of my family and being a part of my family. And hopefully I get to be, hopefully my kids look at me like I look at my dad. He's the glowing figure in the distance, but to be there and I told my daughter this morning, I am so nervous to do this interview. I get to bring up stuff that's really gonna hurt my feelings, but at the same time, it's my responsibility to tell the story, to put it out there. Sorry. To have your kids, to have your kids tell you how proud they are of you. It's incredible. I'm so fortunate to be a part of a family that adores me as much as I adore them. So yeah, I can't wait for the future. Nobody wants to rush past all the todays because you have to be present here, but every day I can put in between myself and a diagnosis, or between anything that deals with cancer in general. that's a victory.
I want to thank you, Tristan, for taking the time to share your story with us to help other people. Now, Tristan actually told us this is his first time speaking publicly about his cancer and his experience. And I just want to recognize how much vulnerability and strength that takes. So again, thank you so much. Tristan also wanted us to share that, yes, this was his struggle, but that there's hope, his hope for the future. If you were moved by Tristan's story, we've queued up this one for you next. And don't forget, you can subscribe to The Patient Story to become part of our community and also be among the first to know when one of our new stories comes up. For now, for The Patient Story, I'm Stephanie Trong. Take good care.